Well, come, my friends, what if the biggest financial secret in the world wasn't hidden in offshore accounts or encrypted servers, but baked directly into the global economy itself? What if every recession, every bailout, every national crisis wasn't just an accident of economics, but the predictable result of a silent mechanism operating underneath everything, quietly turning global debt into an engine of endless wealth extraction? Today, we're pulling back that veil. And what you're about to hear may permanently change the way you view money, governments, and the world you live in. To understand how this mechanism emerged, you have to go back more than a century. Back to a time when money was not yet the fluid, intangible force it is today. Nations once backed every unit of currency with something physical: gold, silver, or trade goods. Debt existed, but it was finite, uncomfortable, and politically dangerous. Then came the architects of modern finance, central bankers, economists, and political strategists like J.P. Morgan, Alexander Hamilton, John Maynard Keynes, and later, the technocrats of the Federal Reserve and the IMF. They didn't just change policies, they changed the underlying rules of the game. And in doing so, they unleashed a mechanism so subtle that most people never noticed its rise. But to see how it happened, we need to walk through the chain of events, step by step. 1. Origins when debt became a tool, not a burden. It begins in the early 20th century. Wars were becoming larger, industrializing nations were more complex, and governments needed a way to fund expenses without raising taxes overnight. The solution? Borrow, issue bonds, promise future repayment. But the real shift came when central banks emerged as lenders of last resort. Suddenly, governments could borrow from institutions designed to create money. This changed debt from a desperate measure into a strategic instrument. The mechanism was born. 2. The rise when money became abstraction. Fast forward to 1971. The US ends the gold standard. The world follows. And for the first time in history, global currencies float freely, unanchored, untethered, and infinitely expandable. Now, when a government issues debt, it does so in a system where money is created with a keystroke. Central banks buy bonds, banks extend loans, and every layer multiplies new money into existence. Debt no longer reflected resources, it created them. And the interest on that debt? That became the extraction point, the quiet siphon of wealth upward. 3. The breaking point when the system started feeding itself by the late 20th century. This mechanism had matured into something self-reinforcing. Financial institutions profited more from lending than from anything else. Countries became dependent on constant borrowing to maintain public services. Debt ceilings kept rising. Crisis cycles got shorter. Bailouts got bigger. And each time, the same pattern emerged. The public absorbed the fallout. Private institutions collected the interest, fees, and assets. The mechanism was no longer a tool. It had become a system. 4. The fallout. How everyday people became the collateral when nations borrow. It's not politicians who pay the price, it's citizens. Inflation reduces purchasing power. Taxes rise to service interest. Public programs shrink. Meanwhile, global debt exploded to levels once considered impossible. Today, that number sits above $300 trillion, far more than the world can realistically repay. Yet the mechanism keeps turning because someone profits as long as the debt grows. 5. Failed fixes. Why every solution made it worse. Debt restructuring, austerity programs, IMF loans, quantitative easing, each designed to stabilize the system. But every fix had a consequence. Austerity weakened economies. T inflated asset bubbles. Bailouts rewarded risk. Higher debt loads created dependency. Instead of slowing the mechanism, each solution fed it. Modern parallels shocking data and repeating patterns. Today, nations are trapped in a loop. Borrow gives, inflate gives, bailout gives, repeat. Households mirror the same pattern with credit cards, mortgages, and student loans. And financial institutions earn more than ever. In fact, global interest payments alone now exceed $2 trillion per year, money that flows upward into investment banks, bondholders, and sovereign funds. The mechanism hasn't slowed. It has accelerated. 3 takeaways. Debt is no longer a burden. It's a business model. Modern money depends on constant expansion, not stability. The winners of this system are those closest to money creation, not those who earn it. Final warning or thought. If this silent mechanism continues unchecked, The world may face a point where debt growth outpaces the real economy so dramatically that the system can no longer maintain the illusion of balance. So please subscribe this Moneyxible channel for more informative video, bell icon press for upcoming videos, share our friends.